The Road Dogg, Brian James, claims that he is a better sports entertainer than Bret the Hitman Hart, and that being a decent wrestler is not where the money's at. He had all kinds of things to say about Bret Hart on his podcast, the Oh You Didn't Know, usually with Ryan Katz, but Ryan apparently had the week off hanging out with his cats. Get it? Because his last name is Katz. So he's probably like a crazy cat lady guy. Smiley. He's a good dude. But instead we got fucking Cassio Kid, which is like Conrad Thompson Jr., right? Like they have the same fucking voice and accent and personality and everything, just jolly, chubby Southern Atlanta boys, right? Or, Georgia boys, anyway, Alabama boys, whatever, somewhere down that way, Alabama. But yeah, Cassio Kid was talking with the Road Dogg Brian James on his podcast about the Montreal Screwjob. That was the topic of the episode. And look, the Montreal Screwjob has been covered to death. Everybody and their mom has given an opinion on it. Surprisingly, I haven't had too much to say on video about it yet. Maybe we'll get into that here in a minute. But first thing we're gonna address here before we get into the Montreal Screwjob part of it were these comments, and this happened right at the end of the show. Road Dogg must have been holding this in, or he just couldn't help himself to wait 5 more minutes till he was off of the podcast. But literally, like as they were wrapping up, he was just basically like, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck Bret Hart." No, he didn't quite say it like that. He was very clear to say, I have tons of respect for Bret and everything like that. But the things that he said in this clip, I'm going to play here, only a little bit of it, because I can't just play a half the fucking episode or anything. I'm not going to play a full 5-minute clip. But Road Dogg went, I feel like he went pretty hard. I would classify this as shooting hard on Bret the Hitman Hart, under the guise of, I respect him and I got nothing bad to say about Bret except for this, and this. He laid into Bret and did it kind of in a veiled way. Check out this clip.
Did losing Bret feel like the last nail? Did that worry you guys as, now it's getting harder for us?
For me personally, and that's all you're going to get from me ever, is because that's all I got. It's my only reference point. I never saw what the big deal was with Bret Hart as a performer. I never understood it. He was a great worker, and I thought about saying good, but he was a great worker. Worked better than me tenfold, worked circles around me. Don't ever think that I've told anybody I was a good wrestler, because I haven't. And if you've listened to my podcast, you know that's true. I don't think I was a good wrestler. I don't think Bret was a great wrestler. He was wrestler. I think I was a better sports entertainer than Bret was, and I think that's where the money is. So I always thought that he should have done business and done what was right. And you know what I mean? But I never looked at him like, if we lose this guy, we lose the war. I never thought that for one moment. Now I can understand people who are huge Bret Hart fans going, screw you, Road Dogg, you suck. And okay, screw me and I suck. Okay. Now what? We still get to my feelings, which is I never thought he was that great to begin with. So it wasn't that great a loss when we lost him for me personally.
The age-old argument, sports entertainer versus pro wrestler. Look, let's address the pro wrestler side of it first, because Brian James even went as far as to say he didn't see what all the hype was about with Bret Hart. He doesn't get why everybody thinks he's so great. He thought he was a good wrestler, but not like the greatest of all time or anything, which is downright blasphemy. If you ask like half of the internet wrestling community, we will all tell you that Bret the Hitman Hart is the shit. But Road Dogg didn't think so much. And look, so before I give my opinion and before we all kind of jump in on it with our 2 cents here, let's acknowledge the fact that Road Dogg isn't in the business. He's been around Bret Hart for many years. He's worked with him. He knows him as a human being. And think about people that you work with that are kind of just, I don't know about that guy. You know what I mean? But like everybody praises him, and people just don't work around him every day, don't really get how big of a douchebag he really is. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying Bret's a douchebag, but what I am saying is that Road Dogg, his opinion might be colored, even though he said he always got along with Bret, might be colored by just things that he's seen or heard or just experienced being around Bret, such as like he talked about Bret was always very serious. It wasn't very much of a joker, you know, and didn't like to laugh too much, took everything so seriously. And those can be the little things that kind of get a guy like Road Dogg to be like, I don't, you know, Bret's kind of mad. But look, if he's going to look at Bret Hart's work as his work rate in the ring as a professional wrestler and say he doesn't see why people think he was like the greatest or one of the greatest, he's fucking insane. Bret the Hitman Hart, like he's conflating his sports entertainment nonsense with pro wrestling, and we'll address that. I'll get to that part. But just to specifically tackle the Bret Hart wrestling end of this, Bret Hart is one of the greatest goddamn wrestlers of all time. He is so effortlessly crisp and smooth and on point and textbook. The nickname, the excellence of execution, wasn't just like a fucking thing that Gorilla Monsoon made up to try to get Bret over. Like his work is, you can't see through his work. His work is impeccable. He puts people exactly where they need to be. All of his moves are like the textbook definition. Like if he's gonna, you ever see him drop a fucking, I used to, in my backyard wrestling, I used to love the fucking sidewalk slam scoop and then just down into a, you know, I'd spin around with it and then drop a solid fucking backbreaker across the knee. And I got that from Bret Hart. Bret used to drop a fucking, used to do a backbreaker that was just like crisp as all fuck. The guy landed on the fucking knee. It looked devastating, but he was always safe. He was always taking care of people. You know, there's been people that have said that he throws some potatoes out there, but he doesn't break jaws, he doesn't knock out teeth, he doesn't break noses. You know, you can be physical without and still be safe. And Bret was the excellence of execution. He was a goddamn master. He gave so many people that were not great workers their best matches. Look at the match he had with Kevin Nash, specifically that Survivor Series match where Nash turned heel. The absolute best fucking Kevin Nash match you will ever see in your life. And he'll tell you too. I think he'll tell you that was his favorite match or his best match. And he's worked with Shawn. You know what I mean? Bret had a way with working with big guys. Look at the King of the Ring that he worked. He worked with like what? Razor Ramon, Bam Bam Bigelow. And I don't remember who else he beat in that tournament. Forgive me. But Bret was fucking amazing in that. 3 different types of opponents, 3 different styles. Look at his match he had with Piper. He gave Roddy Piper the best wrestling match Piper has ever had in his entire life. WrestleMania 8, right? Piper's always been a brawler. He's always a scrapper. He always was a good sports entertainer. He always put on a good show. He was always a main event act. But nobody would ever accuse Roddy Piper of being a technical fucking wizard, right? In that match, he had a fucking technical masterpiece. He had one of the greatest cage matches of all time with his brother Owen. The match he had at WrestleMania 10 is still to this day one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. Of course, his match with Yokozuna I'm talking about, right? No, of course, the one with Owen Hart, right? Yeah. Bret's fucking fantastic. And look, wrestling's subjective. It's art. You know, some people can look at the Mona Lisa and go, it's just some fucking lady. I don't get it. But it's hanging in a museum because enough people do appreciate it. So it's one of those things. Maybe you don't like Bret Hart, but I have a hunch if you don't, it's because you think he's a little bit boring and stale. And that's where we're going to address this whole sports entertainer thing as we wrap this up here. But on the wrestling side, you cannot poke holes in Bret Hart's game. It's impossible. And that's why he's respected by all the great workers. You know, like FTR looks up to the Hitman. CM Punk looks up to the Hitman, though CM Punk's nowhere near the category of Bret Hart in the ring. You know what I mean? To say you don't see what the big deal is as far as him being a wrestler, and that you don't think that he's one of the greatest of all time as a wrestler. Like, you grew up in wrestling, bro. Like, what crack are you smoking? You know what I mean? And he might have been, because it's the Road Dogg. Okay, that was a low blow. I take that back. I take it back. Don't fucking cancel me or throw your shade at me. I took it back. It's like it never happened, okay? But seriously, what kind of fucking drugs is he on if he thinks that Bret Hart is not one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time? Is he the greatest? That's debatable. Is he one of? Is he in top 10? Probably top 5? I would argue yes. For my own, probably top 5. Top 10, I think you'd have a very hard time arguing that there's fucking 10 other guys that are more crisp, more clean, more solid, able to work with a wider variety of people, give more people great matches that have never had them before in their life. You're fucking insane. Now, Bret Hart is dry. He's dry as fucking shoe leather, right? He's fucking dry as white people cook their chicken, right? But some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't fucking, I can diss myself. Don't worry about it. I season my chicken. Thank you very much. I season it heavily. But Bret Hart is a dry motherfucker, right? He is boring and stale. I don't even think he's not to say now. Look, yes, if you're going to look at sports entertainer, was the Road Dogg more charismatic and more entertaining and fun and feel good to watch and get a good chuckle out of them, and could produce a fucking better backstage segment or even cut a better promo, a more exciting promo? Yes, to all of those things. Road Dogg is a better sports entertainer, right? But what does that get you? Like, okay, yeah, he could say, well, that's where the money is. I will bet you any fucking, I'll bet you my fucking house that Bret Hart has made 3 times, if not fucking 5 times the money that Road Dogg has made in the professional wrestling business, right? Probably a lot more. So I don't know where that's where the money is a sports entertainment. And he's not wrong when you look at like guys like The Rock or like Stone Cold, right? Like Stunning Steve Austin was a good wrestler's wrestler, right? He was technically sound like a motherfucker. People forget, before Steve Austin took that pile driver from Owen, Steve was one of the most technically sound guys in the business. He was fantastic. And then the fucking, after the neck, he kind of just became a brawler and more personality, more sports entertainment. The Rock, more sports entertainment. Look, sports entertainment's huge, and he's not wrong. The big bucks are in being a good sports entertainer. But look, Bret made more money than Road Dogg ever will in his life. So I don't know exactly where he was going with that. And you know what? Bret was an underrated sports entertainer, because yes, he could be dry, and yes, as a baby face, he was pretty meh personality wise, but as a heel in his anti-America, before he left WWE, when he turned heel and he was, the Hart Foundation was reunited and they were pro Canada again. Like, Bret was delivering some great shit back then. So I think he's an underrated sports entertainer, but I would argue that Road Dogg is correct that he's a better sports entertainer. But clearly it doesn't make you more money. At least it doesn't when you compare the two of them. Maybe you compare The Rock to Bret Hart, and then you're looking at, something different there, to help Road Dogg's case. But they're two different things. And yes, it is more, you need both, right? And maybe you don't even need to be a good wrestler nowadays, because I think there's enough fans of the WWE specifically that don't care about wrestling. They want to be entertained. Are you not sports entertained? You know, they want to be sports entertained, you know, like the Jericho Appreciation Society, the greatest sports entertainers on the history of Earth. But you know, there's a whole world of wrestling fans still out there, and they might be the minority. You know, that's the 100 or that's the million or a little less that are watching AEW. Those are the same people that are watching New Japan, and that that watch, that are fans of like Will Ospreay and shit like that. Like, there are wrestling fans, and Bret Hart's fantastic at that, and he would wrestle circles around the Road Dogg. Road Dogg, a bigger sports entertainer. At the end of the day, it's all subjective, but it just sounded like a really kind of a stupid foot and mouth thing to say for Road Dogg, at least the way he phrased it, or maybe didn't even need to be said. And he kept trying to come back and say, I like Bret, I respect Bret, but then he just continued to go hard, to outright say, I don't see what people see in him. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.